occurring. Let's take a look at the headlines. Senate calls for expeditious trial of crude oil thieves. Details of these stories and more in a moment. First, in our news tonight is a robust on the agenda of President Muhammadu Buhari. The Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice of the ongoing process of improving the welfare package of the judicial officers would be completed in accordance with or testament to the fact of a progressively upward review of annual budgetary appropriation to the judiciary community of West African states. ECOWAS Court of Justice has ordered the Nigerian government to pay a sum Kogi during the last governorship election in the state, aber until her murder by a group on the fundamental rights of the deceased to life. The regional court held the federal government liable for neglect and failure. Had failed to act, and the federal government to immediately traitors and punish them. On the case between the federal government to enable the federal government to file the Oshundun had said which the government approached the court jeopardizing the national education system. Deplete to 13 when Emin is formal retirement. Justice August 5, but the valedictory court and information for the Supreme Court festers a courtroom of the Supreme Court and will be presided on a related development, the administrator of the national activity in the discharge of their duties. The administrator gave the charge at the opening ceremony out of the desire of the Education Committee and prosecutors. Economic sabotage against the people, lamenting that crude oil was reportedly the second since the lawmakers who were either killed or arrested judiciously adjudicate cases bordering on crude oil. Still on legislative matters, the management sustainability. Chairman, House of and Fiscal Strategy paper interactive on finance sustainability efforts the Commission had made in shoring up claimed that its Director General Aisha Daher Umar official engagement. The Commission gave 2021-2022 budget and Chairman House Committee on Finance Saidu Abdullahi was absent. The Commissioner of Finance, the direct actors whenever the head was eligible Nigerians who participated in. INEC Chairman, INEC he said the cleanup of the register of voters by 31. Earlier, the Commission had it between June 28, 2021 and January invalid and consequently delisted. Nigeria Francis Akinjole has stated we had sought to categorize aviation workers as essential service providers and had an implication on the rights of the workers. It will be recalled that President Muhammadu Buhari had in late August. He explained that the bill would mean that the workers would not be able to 2022, which sought to repeal the Civil Aviation Act, conduct mop-up examinations for candidates. There's known in its weekly bulletin from the office of it noted that the measure was not only to sanitize it from the management's review of the 2022 in a separate developing the telecom industry, such as telecom equipment. The Commission Professor Umar Dambata made this known while a workshop organized by the Commission enabling laws, subsidiary legislations and external monitoring and enforcement at the Commission workshop was to constantly engage the community matters now as hospital and other healthcare facilities jets. Reports say the hospital located intelligence many of the terrorists were apartments of identified terrorist enclaves operating theaters interdiction. Despite other developments, the acting Corps Marshal Federal Road Safety retained political neutrality, highlighting political convoys. This was contained. Russia makes 21.84. has publicly congratulated, each outlining his administration's key successes. In ceremony, Kenyatta urged his undergone a consequential trans-evolution system and the admission of the tomorrow's transition, say preparations are now complete. Still, by the African Union, however, decried the closeness of the and the Ethiopian Minister for Peace armed before peace talks start. Man-made catastrophe there as the still on the forums of condolence. He said through Auckland and the hearts of its people, and was comforted to know the Virgin had begun the motion of condolence at so many iconic moments. Capital, the military battle of Holyrood House in Edinburgh, Prince Andrew, and the hearse was flanked by a company of archers. The coffin will. In the meantime, King Charles of the Parliament, he was resolved favorite, addressing lawmakers and peers in West Sea, which offered connections to his late grandmother, Queen Elizabeth. In his first public comments since the Mary who stepped down from royal duties with her role as a grandmother, and the life and legacy of the monarch. Funeral. The Prime Minister's officials spoke to arranged community events and more than 20 towns and villages in the past 24 hours. Stabilization measures were being carried out of territory in the country's east this month, stronghold in Ukraine's northeast and Donetsk region. Against a possible Russian counterattack, encircled by Russian reinforcements, more progress than expected. In the meantime, Kremlin spokesman has delivered in a conference call with reporters to respond to questions about a possible defense ministry. Illusions lie in solidarity. Veterans made the cooperation were critical for developing all 17 Sustainable Development Goals in and within nations.
And triangular cooperation in recovery and achieve all sides. South-South and triangles of their responsibilities to work on the United Nations Day for South-South cooperation for all.
Away from that, in accordance with its rights and duties, Iran was a consistent supporter of nuclear. In a separate development, 6 years after will mark a step forward in their recovery. March 2016 suicide bombings in Brussels airport and a crowded underground. Jihadists, including the cells thought to have been killed in Syria, will be former Prime Minister Imran Khan in a terrorism case that adjourned the case until September. Tehreek-e-Insaf Party was charged with the arrest of one of his top aides, police officials, and Judge Zeba. Away from that, and the global pandemic. Alive, trapped in forced labor, were getting worse, was shocking. Its Director General. Away from that, Japanese officials Kihara told local TV a week yen reportedly slid to its lowest point against entries could be lifted soon. And now
in the news, we begin with metal market. It's a silver white light metal, lithium, China, Australia, and Argentina. Net price is in China and equaling the record. Shanghai metal market pointed to a 100 in the US. Demand for electric vehicle purchases. On the supply side, in Xinjiang to suspend operations based on battery electric vehicles to refinery in Texas. And 2% in July, following a sharp contributor to growth, helped by growth was slower than the 0.3% Jubilee. GDP, which measures, analysts have said, the days of national mourning could impact. It expected the UK to fail in periods of shrinking outputs. Jeremy Awori to replace the outgoing group due to the financial institution's policy. Commenting on his appointment, Awori, the transformation of EcoBank. 22 sold to the Nigerian market that a second quarter sales by Russia to Naira in the first quarter of 2022. The majority of Russian Nigeria imported 6.27 of 2022. The country imported billion naira molds. A total of 86.59 million naira were traded. The benchmark also 5 points compared with the previous turnover, but 1% improvement in aggregates. 102 listed exploration led the gainers, with 9.3. The glass company came at last with an edge holding, recorded the highest volume of 19.5.
Many thanks, Blyden. Due to police shortage. You stay with us. The Association of Government General Medical and Doctors made the call today. In a communique issued to the health sector, noted that this, according to the communique jointly signed by the acute shortage of doctors because still in health 7 days. The NCDC announced lesions of bodily fluids. The agency also recorded 1 death each in Kogi. According to the NCDC, monkeypox symptoms. Elsewhere, World Health close to their capacity for Committee for Europe conference in Tel Aviv with major supply sources located in Ukraine could increase the spread of polio. That can cause paralysis and
James, we'll be with the story of Akin's death last week. A huge matches in England and Scotland were postponed over the weekend following strain on police resources. There are more stories now from football. We hear woes the club since leaving Brazilian side Atletico Mineiro in January, trade in 2 spells for the Spire following appendix surgery at the weekend. Thigh Alban came off the ventilator on self driver Nick de Vries on site. James over now to Bito for
Entertainment Desk. I am Bito Brasson. 100 million streams. Damien crossed 100 million streams mark on Spotify, which has helped it to reach the number 74 peak, adding it as one of the best songs of 2022's or gold certification. This sees Burna Boy, the likes of Ye and On The Low. Known as Ye wants to cut out the middleman. Recently, Ye went on Instagram to brand millions of dollars. In an interview, told business outlets that it is fine that he has made the company money, the foam runner, the slides that have changed. Reportedly, Ye's deal with Adidas and Gap's scant amount of time for brands to have to deal with the whims of what nothing, while Gap years have been stolen like the ones on innovation and creativity, likely needs to what this. Interestingly, while on finances, Fina emerges as head of house following head of house gains, then into the jars. Level up house such as the head of house lounge and bedroom. Merged the tail of the house with Big Brother announcing that over to Xavier Roberts.
which you can find on our website, Robert. And to have